All right, so our last one I'm going to go over is studying our competition. So you just need to log into our Dream Home account, our email account. Type in Chris Burkham, Burkham, Burk, Burkham or something. I don't know what it is. Anyways, just type this in, and you'll get all his wholesale deals that he's been sending out. And I usually like to go back. It looks like August. Yeah, maybe the beginning of August, start looking at some of his stuff. And I'm not particularly interested in the off market. We can look at the off market. It's actually not a bad idea. I like to look at his on market. They've been doing a lot more off market stuff, which is the direction I definitely want to be taking us. But anyways, I mean, we look at this like any other property. We just comp it out. So I usually comp it out before I even look at his stuff. So we want to see what they are sending out, what the price is, and what they're selling it for. So let me go ahead and pull everything up. And so it's all ready, and then we can start looking at some of these properties. All right, so this is an off-market property. So that means it's not going to be in the MLS. If you search for this property in the MLS, it won't be there. So you have to use this Realtor Tax tab to find this property. This will pull up any property in the state of Colorado that's owned by anybody. So you just got to type in the address or the owner's name. In this case, we just have the address. So it looks like it's this address right here. So we could just paste that in there. And this thing is finicky. Sometimes you have to spell out drive or whatever, but here it is. So this is the property data. So this gives us the square footage. We won't have photos to deal with, but that's okay. But it gives you tax, mortgage history, every public information on this property is listed here. So we can see what they bought and sold this thing for. So let me pause this. I'm going to flip through this and then I'll come back to you. All right, so let me step through what I did here. I pulled up the realtors information that gives you everything. Really, the main thing that we're looking for, we want to know what they sold this for. So we can see the sales history. Um, Let me see. Don't ever pay attention to this. This is that value never works. Um, here's this total square footage. That's what we're after right here, 2348. And then we want to see what they sold this thing for. So sales price at 350 on 831. So just last month they sold it for 350. So what I did is I went into you map it. So I found out it's here, went into the MLS, drew a thing around the neighborhood, just like we're confident, like normal. And then you go ahead and determine the ARV. And I was actually coming up with about 520-ish between these. This one sold for 537, but we never want to go with the exact highest comp. But this one's pretty nice. And here's our property right here. So it's very similar house, right? So 520-ish. I think they actually undersold theirs a little bit. This is very not typical of New Western. Their comps are usually way off the charts. So I'm surprised to see them do this. But they had their highest one at 515 all the way down to 470. Maybe I'm missing something here. 2300. So I didn't see that one. But anyways, so they had some lower comps on there than I did. But now I'm getting a feel for, would we have competed with them on this? And that's what I'm trying to figure out, is are we doing well? So let's say we go with their very highest comp, 376. They sold it at 380. We are just within a few $1,000s off of New Western. So why are we doing this? If we consistently see that, if we consistently see that we are just a few $1,000s off of New Western, and they're beating us over and over and over on these offers, we will want to make an adjustment, which we have been doing that, right? We've been making these adjustments in here just on the fly. Now we're beating them, right? Because, let me see, let me pull this property up. They sold a 350. I wonder if, let me pause this, take a closer look at it. So this one's, I'm not entirely sure what they did with this property. Looks like they bought it. So this United Colorado LLC is New Western. That's their company name. They hold these properties in. I think they're holding it. And I don't know if they've resold it already. So I'm gonna take a closer look. All right, so I'm not entirely sure what happened with this property that New Western did. And sometimes you're going to run across this. They might the county maybe hasn't recorded a change of deed yet. So, but what I do know, and this is what is really important, is that they bought this for around 350, and they we would have been somewhere around 375, 380. That that's what we would have offered it for. We could have sold this probably at 385 or so. So, what I'm getting at here is this property is they bought it very well. It was bought off market. They probably, I mean, we would have made somewhere around $20,000 in this deal. Is that worth it? Heck yeah, it is. So that is a nice spread. Don't see that all the time with them, but this is why we study them to figure out what, well, we need to be chasing more off market stuff. So but we also know in this, now that we know this neighborhood, we studied it, what's going on. We know what's happening, and we don't see any actives in here. So, anyways, I'm going to move on to one more, and then we're going to wrap this up. All right. So I pulled up a townhouse over here, and I just wanted to point this out. I got four comps. I couldn't find any comps on it. So if if you run across something like that, you can just kind of see what they were thinking about, but I wouldn't spend a lot of time on it. So their property analysis, um, they thought it was around 287, 300. I closed last spring. They went way back on their comps. That's how they found those. So I don't even need to search those up. So they were thinking around 290 between the two of them and 220. So on our sheet, how would we fared on that? 290. We would offer 201. So on theirs, I'll pull up the sales information. We'll end this. All right, so sales information again, you go to Realtus Tax, already pulled that up. You just copy, you can just copy and paste the address line here and to here, hit search, you'll pull up this property just to kind of go through that step again. And so what you're looking at is you want to scroll down to sales and find out what they sold. 'Cause this is off market, this won't be in the MLS, so we've got to go about it a different way, and that's what I'm showing you. Um, So this is last market sales history. So it looks like they sold this 828. So this summer they sold it for 215. Um, they listed it for 220. So my guess is that they 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 took a $5,000 assignment fee um, because they're selling it for 220. So they probably put $5,000 in an assignment fee on the HUD. So that's probably what they sold at, was that 220 mark. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. So that's just studying your competition. So just to kind of finish all this up, I just want you guys to spend an hour each day for the next couple weeks, of course, taking off Sunday, and just doing one, first do this one day, do this one day, this one day for just an hour each day. And then after that, I just want you to just pick one each day and just study one way or the other and just kind of study the market. I want you to do this for 2 weeks. And it may seem like it's kind of a waste of time, but it's not. What you're doing is you're going to start to get just this different feel and handle on the market that you didn't have before by doing this for a couple weeks. You're going to start to see what other people are doing, what other investors are doing, what's happening in the market. So instead of just kind of just systematically generating offers for me, this is a process that's going to get you really thinking about the market and how this market is changing or evolving, and how you need to be thinking about this market. And the reason I want you to start, opening your mind up to the market, not only do I want you to really become a student of the market, but I'm going to lean on you guys for advice because if you're day to day in the MLS making offers, and you're studying this market, you're going to get to a point where because I'm not doing this every day. I'm not in there making offers every day. But if you are, and you're looking at this market, and let's say you're just in a neighborhood real quick. Um, let's just pull this over. Let's say you're in a neighborhood comping a property. You're just naturally going to start looking at those low solds and see what's been happening in there. Uh, so let's just take a quick, gander at. Let me pull up a property we're working on right now. All right, so here's a property that I'm negotiating right now. And when you're in here and you're working on this, you once you start kind of doing these exercises, you're immediately going to be drawn to these low solds down here just to see what's happening in the investment level of this neighborhood. Now, this isn't a very good example because this property is actually pretty clean, 435, 800 square foot. But what it does help you with when you start seeing this stuff, these are much smaller houses. I'm negotiating this at like 385 is where I think I'm going to get this. Are we going to do well on this property? You bet. Look at these low solds. So we're going to do quite well. This is just kind of a negotiation. I'll explain this story some other time of how I'm working on it so low. Um, but anyways, but yeah, so you're going to be drawn to this. Let me see if I can find a better example of this so that it can give you a better idea of when you're in here actually making offers. I did want to finish this thought up though. When you're doing offers around highways, I've talked to Solomon about this. We're I-25, 6th Street, uh, I-7, anything that's a bright yellow line, 470. When you're studying those markets, you got to make sure that the houses that you're studying are close to that highway, because right here these houses have what's called pollution noise. Because when you're standing here at this house, you can just hear that highway humming constantly, and so these you got to make sure you're comping this property to other properties that have the same type of noise. This is a kind of a side note. All right, so this will wrap this up. So after a couple weeks of really studying the markets, when you're in here, like this is a property where I think we made an offer on. We probably shouldn't have. It's a structural right here. It looks like it's previously condemned. You kind of jump in here and you can see there's something wrong with the house. The ceilings are so low. Either that or something's wrong with I think the ceilings are low. Anyway, something's going on here, but this is not the point that I'm getting at. When you're in here, this is 275. Your low sold is in the 340. So you're kind of wondering what's going on at this house already, right? But you're studying to see what this one's sold at. Um, it's sold by, it looks like a conventional FHA loan, so that's a retail buyer. Um, Same here, FHA. So not a lot of investor activities in here. Maybe to expand this out a little bit, let's get rid of the square footage, see if we find some more stuff to look at. So, oh, get this expanded out. 302, this Oxford, that's FHA. So just not a lot of investor activity going on in here. Here's a cash one. So let's take a look. It only has one picture. It looks really rough. They listed at 295, closed at 305. So this is telling us quite a bit about the neighborhood, right? This is why we're going through these exercises. So let's say we're making an offer on this Logan house. This is at 275. You got to start asking yourself right away, why is this one so much lower than the lowest solds in the neighborhood? So when you pull this up, you can see why, right? This is one we probably wouldn't even make an offer on. The structural engineer report. There's lots of stuff going on here. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. So I definitely want you guys to jump in there and take an hour each day to studying the Denver market. And this is going to kind of really propel you guys more from just being offer makers to being true acquisition specialists. So, all right, well, have a good day.